Hello YouTubers, this is Alex. My ham radio call sign is Whiskey America 2 Baker, Mexico Baker. And I'm talking to you today about the Drake PTO, Permeability Tuned Oscillator, or VFO. It's your main tuning device on your Drake radios. You don't recognize it because it's off the chassis right now. And I have it apart because there was a minor, actually kind of a major catastrophe, I guess. On the end of this 1/4 inch shaft here, there's a slip ring, or I should say a snap ring. If this thing loses its integrity, this shaft gets loose. On this shaft, you could see right in this picture here, the dark round object, that is the top of the bearing race. So when the top of the bearing race is missing, all those ball bearings fall out. Now, from my experience, I could tell you, you need the ball bearings are 1/8 of an inch diameter, or around 3 millimeters. I think it's 3.175 millimeters, 3.175 millimeters for our brothers and sisters across the pond. So, what happens is you've got to insert this tuning shaft back up in here. The hole is large enough so that collar clears the chassis right here, and push that up in there. What you got to do next is you got to take some lube. I use the Viper lube from Loctite. If you don't have any of this kind of lube sitting around, for now you could use something like Vaseline petroleum jelly. What you want to do is coat the front end of this race with this grease. Because what you're going to do, this is exactly the same part as this. This is out of a broken PTO, but it works out perfect. The shaft goes in through here, like so, the tuning shaft. You've got the top of the race right there. Now what I've done here, I've taken my 1/8 inch ball bearings and one of my little screwdrivers, and I'm magnetizing them. You need a total of 10 of these ball bearings for this. Some authors say 11. For me, 10 fits right in here. Now, it's a little tricky getting them into that unit. So what you have to do is pick it up with your magnetized screwdriver. There it is. It's just hanging there. What you do then is you maneuver it into position here. Let me put this out towards the light so you can see it better. Just shift the light over a little bit. What you're going to do is, it's still attached to the screwdriver. You push it into the grease and pull the screwdriver away. If you want to make further adjustments on it, use a non-metallic wand or whatever to push it into the grease, just like that. You repeat that over and over again until you get 10 of them in there. It takes 10 1/8 inch ball bearings. They'll be around here in a circle. Then you take your tuning shaft. Don't forget now, because it's got the top of the race on there. So what you want to do is, your tuning shaft is in here. You've got the top of the race. Pull it forward until it contacts the ball bearings. Once it does that, you want to hold it steady with your finger and slide on a brand new snap ring along this shaft until it butts up against this gear here. Okay? Once you do that, that will lock this into place and your bearings won't fall out. Also, what you might want to do before you even start is, there's a set screw back in here. Loosen that set screw, push the shaft in, and don't clamp down on that. Just make it snug, because that'll help keep the shaft in alignment. Then you pull the shaft towards the front of the in this direction towards the front of the PTO, and slip your ring on there. While you're holding it, slip the ring on here, make it tight against this collar, and that's it. Now you've got grease on this, on the bearing works in here. You can see them all sitting in there nice and happy all together. Some guys, you're going to hear a lot about how you should not lubricate the PTO. You should lubricate the ball bearings. You need to lubricate them. You could just, right now, you can leave them as they are, or I took some Corrosion X. It's a spray type penetrating lubricating oil, and I sprayed it in there in the race, and it washed out all the grease. So now all you got is light oil and happy ball bearings right there. So there you go. That's the long and the short of it. Believe me, I am not a font of patience, but you can do this if you use the little trick about magnetizing the screwdriver and the bearings, putting a little bit of grease in the bottom of this race, and so you could stick the ball bearings into the grease so they can hold their spot. Once you get them lined up around there, pull the shaft through so the top bearing, the top of the race pushes on the bearings. Slide your 1/4 inch snap ring tight against this, and your bearings won't fall out. Then what you could do is you could work it by hand and see what it feels like, and if you have to loosen up the set screw located in the back here, then go ahead and do that. Don't make it too loose. You don't want it sloppy, and you don't want a chance to give the bearings a chance to escape again. I'm going to take a quick pause, and I'll set up some equipment. I'll show you what else I've done with this, which is kind of fun. And we are back. Now, on the bottom of this PTO, there's 3 connections. A red and white wire, which is here. A ground wire, which is here. And the output of the PTO is right here. What I used was a 9-volt battery. The connector is polarized. What you do not want to do is reverse the polarization on this. If you do that, you could say sayonara to the 2 transistors that are in here. Now, these are not exotic transistors, but why do you want to make extra work for yourself? Be a little careful. I used to do the same thing with clip leads, and you can get away with it. But if you reverse the clip leads, I guarantee you will pop both those transistors. And then you'll have to take extra time and install 2 new transistors into the thing. So just be careful, okay? Now, on this part where I use the takeoff and I'm looking at it with the scope, you could also hook up a frequency counter to this, and it'll show you the frequency that you're on. You vary the frequency, of course, by tuning the tuning rod here, the tuning shaft. Now, this is the readout that I'm getting from the 100 megahertz scope right here. See how nice and clean that is? It measures it for you, tells you what the PEP reading is of it, and the frequency. You should be able to vary the frequency by tuning the knob, the shaft, back and forth. Let me see if I can do that one-handed here. There it is. It's tuning a little bit. You can see it. Okay, there you go. It's tuning around a little bit. So it's nice to have a scope. You don't need a 100 megahertz scope if you only have a 50, if you only have a 25. Use what you have. You want to make sure that you've got a nice pattern on that scope. So now you can come back to your unit here and mess with it until you get the PTO lined up the way you want it. This way, when you put it back in your radio, it's a whole lot less problems. If it's not right on the money, it's pretty darn close. So there you go, powering your Drake PTO with a 9-volt battery and being able to observe whether or not it even works. I have had a couple of radios where the transistors were already popped and it didn't work. So this could come in handy. I hope these tips help you. Don't forget, you want to magnetize your cheapo screwdriver. You want to magnetize your ball bearings. Pick them up, place them into the lower race with the grease, and there you go. You should be in fine shape. So I had fun doing it, and like I say, I'm not a font of patience, and the results are always rewarding. I mean, look at those little bearings in there, happy as in their own little bearing world. So there you go. So I guess that's it for me for now. I'll say 7-3 to everyone. Please take care, stay well, and look out for each other. This is WA2BMB, Alex, saying goodbye.